Hobby Quick Hits, delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Hobby Quick Hits, a special edition if you will. We cut out the news segment and the product release segment only to make room for a rare guest appearance, an interview, which we normally don't always do on this episode. Not the first time we've done it, but we're doing it on this episode. Ray from Philly is our guest today. You may know him from the Sports Cards Hall of Fame, baseball and football to be exact, but not to be exact, there's a third Sports Card Hall of Fame. They are launching the Basketball Card Hall of Fame. Voting is open now. We're going to talk about the new entity, and I'm going to do something I've never done before. I always vote on these, but on this episode I'm actually going to tell you which cards I actually voted for. I usually keep that close to the vest, but on this episode I am going to share that information. So we're going to get right to that. Ray Fonio in the Basketball Card Hall of Fame. All right, we don't always have interviews as part of Hobby Quick Hits, but made an exception, not the first time, but made an exception in this case because of the timeliness of the entity and something that's brand new, and we're going to talk about it. And it's a gentleman that's been on Sports Card Nation numerous times, but I'm going to have him on Hobby Quick Hits just to get this show out in time so some voting can happen. And so I'm joined once again with Ray Fonio, Ray from Philly. Welcome.
Hey, John, how you doing? Thanks for having me on once again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I believe in what you're doing. And for those that don't know, you do Sports Card Hall of Fames. You've got baseball already for numerous years, football as well for numerous years. And tonight we're going to talk about the third entrant into the Sports Card Hall of Fame, and that's going to be the basketball side of things. Before we get into that, Ray, just kind of talk about the launch. For those that don't know, How did the Sports Card Hall of Fames, where did it all start?
It started in 2018. I always was wondering why the actual Baseball Hall of Fame didn't have cards representing into their Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, which years later now they finally do have a wing for that. So I came up with the idea of just trying to honor and preserve the hobby excellence of baseball cards throughout the history. So in 2018, I started the Baseball Card Hall of Fame, and we just finished the eighth year of that now, 8 years in a row of doing the Baseball Card Hall of Fame. And as the years went on, after I started the Baseball Card Hall of Fame, I started thinking and pondering about getting other cards from other sports involved. So with the help of two gentlemen, Bart of Bart's Cards and Scott of Scotty Tradition, they head up for me the Football Card Hall of Fame, which the three of us just finished our third year for that. So I always wanted to just try and expand as much as time will allow me to do and try and get at least the big four sports in there. So I've been working on putting together the Basketball Card Hall of Fame for the past year or two and trying to come up with the best way to do it. And the fellow YouTuber I'm working with is Tony, whose YouTube channel is TJ is Online. Him and I are representing the Basketball Card Hall of Fame. Tony couldn't make it tonight, but just wanted to, spread the word out there for that the Sports Card Hall of Fame network is really what I run that's on YouTube to do the Baseball Card Hall of Fame. I've been doing the football card for 3 years, and now this year is the first year of spreading the Hall of Fame into a third sport, and basketball card is up to bat now, so to speak.
Very, very cool. I know Tony very well, and very smart guy.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about that. Like each of these sports card Hall of Fames, you have different people involved. How much has that? I mean, again, it's a labor of love. It's not easy, but
Right.
how much easier does that make your life when you have some folks
Oh,
that are helping out?
yeah, it's definitely a burden lifted, and plus, not only that, it gives more ideas into the pot. You know, when I
Yeah.
added Bart and Scott for Football Card Hall of Fame, it was definitely a joy because those guys' knowledge in football cards is overwhelming. They're fantastic, and Tony, the same thing, has been a big basketball card collector for years and years. And there were some cards, especially in the modern era. I mean, I know vintage basketball, but Tony was definitely well more equipped to help out and give great ideas and suggestions to what cards should go into the modern ballot, which we'll get into, about the two different ballots. But, it's definitely a helpful when you have, more than one set of eyes or more mind going to it, that it gives you better ideas, and it's alleviates some pressure as well. Definitely a big help.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk about from the first year you did this with the baseball to where
Hmm.
you are now, just with the two sports, and now with basketball entering the fray, that the third one. Talk about how this has gained momentum and got some traction from that first day where no one knew what the heck was going on to where we are today here in
Yeah.
no late 2025.
Yeah, I mean, in 2018, I think I got 40 votes. In 2019, maybe 44 votes. But it started to grow around, I'm going to say 21 or 22. And it's been with the help of people such as yourself with and other YouTube channels, wanting to get involved and wanted to pitch in and help out, which I've been internally grateful for. The word has just finally spread. It takes time. Every new idea out there doesn't really get off, guns a-blazing, so to speak. So it took a few years for the Baseball Card Hall of Fame to really start to take off. And like I said, with the help of a lot of fellow YouTubers chipping in and spreading the word, and me going their channel or they're coming on my channel, it's been a tremendous help. And now, I passed over 1,300 votes on the last
That's
Baseball
awesome.
Card Hall of Fame election, which is just mind-boggling to me that I got 1,300 votes. My goal, like last year, I think it was about 900 votes. So my goal this year was to crack 1,000, and it was totally surpassed with well over 1,300. So now I'm like, should I aim for 2,000 next year? I'm not trying to be greedy or anything, but it's just done really well. Again, with a lot of help of a lot of fellow YouTubers. So been very proud of the growth over the past 8 years.
Well, kudos to you and the guys on your different teams with the different sports. Ray, someone had to do this, right? And I
Yeah,
remember talking to you early on when you really first started, and thinking, man,
yeah,
I was a little surprised no one had done this yet. And
right.
and the other nice thing, the way you do it, right? Sometimes a lot of these like lists and it'll be just someone that says, "Here's my picks for this year's," or "This is my list." You're letting the hobby community vote. Their vote, what they say counts, and
Yeah,
that's what determines what cards get in. And I
right,
think that's power to the people, right, as
right.
they
Yeah,
say. And they have it, right. And
right.
was that always the way you knew you were going to do it when you decided to?
Yeah, I wanted this to be a community event, not just something that I'm throwing out there and saying this is what I think. I wanted this to be something that everybody got involved with and had fun with it. It sparks friendly debates over certain cards, and that's what I wanted, And the first year, I mean, the first couple years, it was, and especially with the Baseball Card Hall of Fame, it wasn't real streamlined. I had everyone voting for what they wanted, but there was no ballot. There was no suggestions of what would be on a ballot. So the first year, first 2 or 3 years, I was getting a couple hundred different cards. Everybody was voting for anything and any kind of baseball card. So I'm like, this is crazy. I couldn't even keep up with it. Even though I was only getting about 40 to 50 votes per year the first couple years, I was getting a couple hundred different cards. So and in 2021, I had a couple other YouTubers help me at that time, Mike and Victor, and we all decided that there should be a ballot that at least for the first year, we picked the cards for the ballot and streamline it a little bit because you didn't want having votes coming in of hundreds of different cards. It was just crazy. Kind of run it more like the actual Hall of Fame, especially in the Veterans Committee, where there's a committee that came up with the ballot, and then the people vote on what players get in from that ballot. So I tried to emulate a little bit more what the actual Hall of Fame does. And the past few years now, that it's done really well. So when cards get voted in and new cards have to be put on, I'll do a pre-poll ballot asking people what cards would they like to see be at least put on the ballot. This year was actually the first year I did a pre-poll ballot. So, and it was ran over really well. I mean, because rather than me just saying this is what I think, I took it's a community event. I took people's advice and their opinions and their ideas. So, and that's what I'm trying to emulate with football and also with basketball.
Yeah, and you do a great job. And again, you're getting
Thanks.
people involved, right? And
Right.
people love. And listen, if you've been in the hobby a long time, I've been in the hobby a long time, and we probably can include both of ourselves in the comment I'm about to make, right? People in the hobby like to debate about things, whether who's the best player, who's overrated, who's underrated, and same thing with cards, right? And
Right.
some people do it tactfully, some people maybe not as much, and that's fine too, right? To each their own. But people love lists, people love debates, people love when the results come in. People like to point out where, hey, I think we dropped the ball here, or as a voting consensus, I think we missed this guy or this card and that sort of thing, or how did this card get that many votes and this one didn't?
Right.
Makes no sense. And that's always
that
and I'm sure
happens.
that happens.
That happens. It definitely happens. People, quite a few people take it, pretty serious, but not serious in a negative way. They take it serious because they are collectors, they're hobbyists, so they have an opinion on, well, wow, I can't believe this card got in over that, or this card didn't even make it through the first year ballot, and how did that happen? I'm like, the people have spoken, but you have a voice in this because you can vote for this on a pre-poll ballot to at least get put back on the ballot, and it can. The card, just because it got knocked off doesn't mean that it's forever done. I've had 2 cards in the Baseball Card Hall of Fame that the first year they were on the ballot they weren't even able to continue on the next year's ballot. They got below 5%. And that was the 1990 Upper Deck Reggie Jackson autograph card and the 49 Bowman Roy Campanella rookie. They were off the ballot for about 2 years. They got back on, I think, last year. And not only did they get back on, they actually made it. So anything can happen because people look at things and they'll say, you know what, we need to take a different look or different approach at this. Same thing with the Veterans Committee. There's been guys that on the BBWAA ballot got booted off on their first year on the ballot, and then they got transferred over to the Veterans Committee and got another second look and actually made it in. So I try and emulate as close to the Hall of Fame as possible.
No, I love it, and I think people appreciate that, and people like to be part of something, and when their cards that they voted for get in, they feel sort of some pride in that, right? I was part
absolutely.
of that process. If I didn't vote, no one else voted, that card wouldn't have made it. So you take some personal pride. Now, again, like I mentioned in the intro, we've done this before. You've been on to talk about each year, sort of. We're going to do it a little bit different this year. We're not going to go, for time's sake, we're not going to list all the cards on the ballot. But also for the first time, I've always vote, Ray, but I always kind of keep my votes to myself. Not that it's top secret,
right?
But I just never gave disclosing it. But I was talking to Tony earlier today. He's like, you got to say who you voted for, and I know Dr. Jim does that. So I'm today for the first time. I'm going to talk about the 10 cards I voted for, 5 on the vintage and 5 on the modern side for basketball. Before we get into that, though, give out where people can cast their 10 votes, 5 for modern, 5 for. Where can people do that?
Well, me and Tony did a video on my channel that was released yesterday. So the 2 links for the 2 ballots are in the description of that video. So they can either do one of 2 ways they can do it. They can either click on the link and the ballot will come up, or in the video, we posted a picture of a barcode where people can just scan the barcode, like pause the video and use their phone and scan the barcode, and it'll bring up the actual ballot. So there's 2 ways to do that. There is a website for the Baseball Card Hall of Fame. Thanks to Adam from Splendid Sports, he's working on doing the Football Card Hall of Fame and the Basketball Card Hall of Fame. So eventually, there's going to be two more websites added, so that in future years, for Football Card and Basketball Card, they'll be able to go right to the website and there'll be a ballot on there. But for this year, for Basketball Card, on the bottom of my video, there would be 2 links, one for the modern era and one for the vintage era, or they can scan the barcode.
And I'll put it in the show notes as well. So if you
Thank you.
didn't catch it while you're listening to this, or you're just lazy, and I get it, because I can be that way too, just go to the show notes and click on that link, and that'll take you to it. Real quick, before I get into who I voted for, this is the first time you're doing like 2 ballots, in a sense, a modern side
Right.
and the vintage side. Just kind of explain to people why that is, and might we see that in some of these other hobby sports?
It's possible. It's possible. Well, Tony and I were talking about, when we were first figuring this out back in the spring, how do we want to create and present this ballot for basketball cards? And we figured out, since basketball doesn't go as far back as baseball, baseball cards, you can get cards in the 1800s. We didn't want to cross over too much of the vintage basketball cards with a lot of the modern cards, say from the 90s and 2000s. So we figured out, let's try it this year and separate eras. So we have a vintage era, which is from 1900 to 1979, and a modern era ballot, which is 1980 to present day. Now, when we say present day, there isn't current players on the ballot. The player has to be a retired player. So LeBron James or Stephen Curry's cards aren't on the modern era ballot, but you would see someone like Kobe Bryant or Dirk Nowitzki on the ballot. So we're trying it out, see how it works with that, and if that seems to be doing well, who knows? It could present itself or spread over to other sports as well. But since there isn't a really long history with basketball cards, maybe back as far as the 30s, we wanted to do more of the vintage separate from a modern. And we didn't want to just have people voting for a Kobe and then a George Mikan. It was 2 totally different eras, and cards could get missed out. So figured, you know what, let's have the vintage have their own wing and the modern era have their own wing, and just see how it goes from there. It's kind of like a trial run for this year, but I think it's going to work pretty well.
Yeah. All right. So let me get into, I'm going to go through my votes here, Ray. This was tougher than I thought it was going to be.
It always is.
When I open it up, I'm like I was already, without even seeing the ballot, I had cards what I thought would be on the ballot. And sure enough, those cards I was thinking about are on the ballot. But then there's cards you forget about, and then you see them on the ballot, and you're like, man, this is not as easy. This is not as chalk as I initially thought. Now, I did sort of vote what I consider sort of chalk, and I'll start with the vintage. And the first one that I voted for, it's iconic, and no one will argue with this. I venture a safe bet this might get in on the first ballot. Let me put it this way: I'd be surprised if it didn't. That's the 48 Bowman George Mikan. That's just one of the most iconic cards. We talk about like the 52 tops. This is sort of that for basketball. So like I couldn't not vote for it. That's how I kind of weighed in on my vote. Like, is there any way I cannot vote for this card? And that one, just, there was no way I couldn't vote for it. The other one, I'm a rookie card guy, so my votes tend to slant that way, full disclosure. And again, folks, I'm sharing who I voted for, but I want to stress, vote for who you want. I'm just saying who I voted for. I'm not
Right.
politicking for these. I might say why I voted for them, but I'm not telling you who to vote for. That's the beauty of voting. You get to pick who
Right.
you want to vote. I'm just sharing some of my thoughts of why I did vote this way. So, 52nd one, and I'm not even saying these in a particular order per se, but 57 tops Bill Russell. This guy's got more, championship rings. He's right there at the top. I think for as much credit as Bill Russell gets, I think sometimes maybe not even enough. I
Right.
don't think people know the greatness of Bill Russell. This is just a great card. I looked at it and I'm like, I cannot vote for this card. So, and my last three, I hate to do this, but the last three are all from the same set. And it's the 61 Fleer, and they're
Oh,
just
wow.
iconic rookie cards. And so I'll kind of lump them all together here, Ray. I went with the Jerry, all 61 Fleer, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson. And when we talk about underrated players of all time, Oscar Robertson, this guy averaged a triple double
Hmm.
for like average. Like, guy gets a triple double nowadays. It's like leads off the Sports Center.
Yeah.
This guy averaged a triple double, and we don't when we talk about the greats of the NBA,
Hmm.
he gets mentioned, but not as early on as he should.
Right.
He's overshadowed by a lot of other guys, maybe because he's like being a guard in the smaller time. But this guy was tremendous. It's actually a card. Speaking of card, it's on my to get list
Hmm.
for my PC.
Nice.
And I'm thinking maybe next year at the National will be when I kind of try to hone in
Awesome.
on it. Going back to the Jerry West, he's the logo, right?
He's the
And
logo. Yep.
we just lost him recently, and
Yep.
even regardless whether he was the logo or not, you can't argue with the greatness of the player that Jerry was. He's the
Right.
logo because he was a great player. They didn't
Right.
just put anyone on there. So, and the last one, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, the legend of Wilt, even though he's been gone and it seems to grow every year for some new stat or new thing that comes up about him. Off the court or on the court, he's known as a legend.
He
So
changed the game.
that's 60.
Yeah.
He did, and that 61 set is just iconic in its own right. So
Right.
those were my five
Great
on the
picks.
vintage side. And there was others, Ray. Anytime you do this, there's others you don't vote for, and you're like, I could have, and
Yeah.
and other people are going, and that's what makes it so fun. And many of the ones that I didn't vote for, may get in or will get in pretty quickly, whether it be this year or soon after. So,
Right.
but those five sort of, it's funny. Before I even opened up the ballot, those were like, I was thinking of 5 to 8 cards were definitely on the short list. So,
Right.
it sort of, I don't want to say it made my vote easier, but a lot of the debate was already in
There.
my
Yeah.
own mind was kind of sorted out. So those were my 5 on the vintage side. Now going to the modern side, I feel a little bit guilty here because one player sort of dominated my votes, and that's just because he dominated that era. But let's talk about the cards I voted for that he wasn't on. And this one, like you said, this was at the cusp of the cutoff between what you considered vintage and modern. But it's an iconic card. I own it. It's the 1980-81
Yes.
Topps Bird Magic rookie.
Yep.
And how many times can you get two guys of that stature whose rookie card is on the same
Yep.
piece of cardboard, right? When you
Yep.
think about all the baseball like rookies, like the Bench or the Ryan or other like or the Seaver, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but usually whoever else is on the card didn't pan out, let's say.
Right.
And so that person sharing the card with the Hall of Famer. But how many times? It's very rare that you get. You could have Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker on the same card, but when you talk about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson,
They're two
and
legends.
and the rivalry between them as well.
Yeah.
I mean, forget that they're both Hall of Famers, but the Lakers Celtics rivalries of that time period, where it seemed like they were in the finals either every year, almost every other year.
Yeah.
And while they were friends, when the game was on, they weren't friends. They were
Right.
trying to beat each other. And I grew up. I'm selfish. I
Yeah.
grew up as a young kid during that era, and I wasn't necessarily a Celtics or Lakers fan, but you couldn't help but like these guys just because how great the players they were and how competitive they were. And that card is just you get two guys of that stature whose rookie card appear on the same piece of cardboard. There's nothing else I can really say. I think
Yeah.
that kind of sums it up. So that one was one of my first votes. The other one that I voted for that wasn't of the same player, and this one was the one I debated back and forth before I finally kind of clicked the box and sent my ballot in. The 96-97 Topps Chrome refractor Kobe,
Right.
and we all know how great Kobe was in his own right. And that's just a great card, right?
Yep.
The Chrome set, the refractor version, and if you're a Kobe collector or Kobe fan, this is one of the cards you're trying to add to your collection first. And then the other three are all Michael Jordans, and as much as you try, like man, this is easy, but you can't not vote for two of these. I think are no brainers, and then someone can argue maybe the third.
Right.
The two no brainers for me, Ray, were the 84-85 Star Jordan,
Right.
and then obviously the 86-87 Fleer
Fleer.
Jordan. And we can, I know there's a debate which one's is true rookie. I think I like the line, like I say, I'm not kicking either one of those out of bed. I'll take either one of those any day, right? Those two were kind of chalk, and there's no way you sort of can't vote for them on the first ballot of what you're calling the modern side. The third one is also a Jordan, and my fifth card, if you will, on the modern side. This one, like the Kobe, I hemmed and hawed a little bit more than the other three, if you will, and that's the EX. I'm a big fan of EX, that brand from Fleer, but the Jambalaya Jordan. It's a card I've never owned. I've seen it a few times, more than a few times, but just a great card. And it's one of those inserts from the 90s that you never realized how little existed. And you could have bought them a lot cheaper back then had you had the foresight to see that. And many of us didn't, right? I don't even feel bad admitting that. And it's just a really cool looking card with the round corner. It's basically an oval type card, and just lenticular. That one's kind of a selfish vote. That one's just like, I like this card, I'm voting for it. All the other ones were more like, to me, like chalk, or it's hard not to vote for.
Right.
That one was like, you know what I mean? I could have went either way, but that was just a personal. I'm voting for. So there's my 10 cards that I voted for. 5 on the vintage side, 5 on the modern, 3. I really tried. I know when I was looking over my modern vote, Ray, I'm like, I've got 3 Jordans here on the ballot, and I feel sort of guilty. But I'm like, well, I'm going to do this each year, right? So I can maybe vote for now some less Jordans next year. But the first ballot, you got to vote for the Star and the Fleer. The one, if I feel guilty about any of the Jordan votes, it's probably the Jambalaya. But that one I just did because I love that. And that's the beauty of the vote, right? You can, whoever's voting can wherever your heart leads you to pick.
I like all those picks. I mean, I got 3 of the 5 in my own mind. I mean, I don't vote, but in my own mind, for the vintage, I had 3 of the same of the 5 that you picked. And for the modern, I agree on the Magic Bird and Star Jordan and Fleer Jordan. And then the other 2 I was looking at was the Star Barkley, and then it's tough after that, I mean, Maybe a Star Akeem, just kind of rare, but
Yeah, that's an underrated card too. He's an underrated guy. Sometimes we don't talk enough about.
tough.
And it's tough. It is tough. I'm like, I do feel. I don't want to say guilty, but I'm like, I probably didn't have to vote for the jambalaya, and I could have went somewhere else. But again, you say, well, next year I'll vote for like the Barkley or the Elijah West card that I'm also looking at and that
Sure.
sort of thing. So that was my, I don't want to say homer pick, I guess, but that was my one pick that I probably could have went a different way, but I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do
Yeah, I
it.
mean that's cool.
And that's the fun. That's the fun of the vote. As we kind of come down the home stretch here, when does the voting close? So people know, like,
Yep.
hey, I got this long to get.
So the voting closes on opening day of the NBA season, which is October 21st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So October 21st. And then the announcement video will be live on YouTube Friday, October 24th.
There you go. And it'll be interesting to see out of the 10 I picked how many get in. I'm going to venture a guess that I'm batting at least 50.
I would think so.
I feel confident in that. Again, folks, I'm not telling you to vote for. Vote wherever your heart desires. But, some of these they're so iconic. It's almost like to use a basketball term for me.
It's a slam dunk. Yeah.
Slam dunk.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Or a layup, right? Easy layup.
Yeah. So, but that's the fun of it, right? And I think in subsequent years, I think it will get tougher too, as those obvious choices get in.
Right.
Then it becomes less obvious. The waters become more evenly matched with cards.
As it should be, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's, when you look at even the traditional Hall of Fames, like look at some of the early classes.
Yeah.
It was like Ruth and Cobb, and it was easy because they were just legend. I think it's kind of like that with cards. And then after those big guns get in, then it gets a little trickier because there's more evenly worthy cards, and like you can't vote for them all. So then you really have to be diplomatic. So I think it'll get tougher each year and funner each year. It just kind of, again, coming down like, is hockey next? I got to put you on the hot seat and ask you.
We'll see. I mean, you never know. I mean, it could be boxing. I mean,
there you go. See, I like I'm a boxing guy. More in the heyday, not the current state of the sport. But
that's been the big question. Everyone's like, oh, let me guess what's coming up after this. Hockey. I'm like, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Non-sport, you can go non-sports even.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different directions. People just have to stay tuned. Well, Ray, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
First time I've ever shared my picks. I feel slightly guilty, but not really. Again,
no, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, it was kind of fun and maybe explaining sort of why and the economy of why I went. I'm always going to slant rookie cards over non-rookie cards. Now, again, that doesn't mean I voted in other sports as well. I voted for non-rookie cards. There's just some cards that, regardless of whether they're a rookie or not, that are still just icons of the hobby that you got to get them in there. So, but that's sort of where I lean first, and then after that, it opens it up for everything. So, and other people might think in a different way, and there's no wrong answer there, right?
No.
Opinions. I always tell people opinions aren't wrong. Facts can be wrong. If you tell someone, there's 83 states in the United States, you're wrong, right? But if you say Pennsylvania is your favorite state, you're not wrong. That's your opinion, right? So I always say opinions aren't wrong, but facts can be. So when you're voting, you're never wrong, right? That's
very
how
true.
You vote. So you got about a month and a half, folks, to get your votes in. Don't wait that long, and it'll be fun to see how the first ever ballot shakes out. And then, like you said, Ray, what sport or maybe not sport (parentheses) Hall of Fame card Hall of Fame.
I appreciate you having me on, John. Thank you so much.
And let's see. Well, maybe after the votes are in, we can get you back and kind of talk about where everything's settled once all the smoke clears.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right,
Looking
Ray.
forward to
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/sportscardnationpodcast/ Twitter, we are at sportscardnat1, so it's sportscard NATI1. Instagram at sportscardnationpodcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.